So inside the IntelliJ IDE, let us now explore our arrays declaration. So the very first step to declare the array is define the data type followed by square bracket open and close, give it a space. Let's call it my first array. You can also declare the float array as well. Similarly, char array, then double array, and then we can also declare the boolean array. Now, apart from all these data type, we can also declare the array for short or let's say byte and so on. So right now let's keep it boolean only, and also we can declare the array for string as well. Let's say my string array. Now how do we insert data into our array? So first of all, let us take the example of integer array. So the very basic way to declare an array is to give the equal to sign followed by curly bracket open and close. Now within this we can type our values. Let's say 20, 19, then 48 and then 7. You can insert as many elements as you want to insert. Right now I have the 4 elements within our array. Now suppose if I want to access the element of 19, then how can we access this element? So for that, in array we have the concept of index. So each element has been assigned a specific index. Let's say 0, 1, 2 and then 3. So each of these elements are associated with a particular index. So 20 has the index of 0, then 19 has the index of 1, 48, 2 and so on 3. If we have more elements here, then that element will have subsequent index, let's say 4. So currently let us make it 3. And now in order to access the element of 19, we need to use the index of 1. So let us use print statement and then use our variable name of my first array and give the index of let's say 1. If you run the code right now, you will be able to get 19 in the output console. So there we go, 19. If you give the index of 3, let's see what happens. So here we get 7. Now if you change 3 to let's say 30, let's see what happens right now. So here we get an error of array index out of bound exception because we don't have any element at the index of 30. So the compiler is not happy with our code. So right now let's make it 3. Now suppose you want to modify our array. Suppose you want to change the element at let's say index 2. So for that what you can do, you can simply use my first array index of 2, which was earlier 48, and now let's change it to 37. So here let us print out our element at index 2. So there we go, we get 37. So we have simply updated the element at index 2. Now here we have 4 elements, but the index always starts from 0. Always remember this. And suppose if you want to check the length of the array, then we have a special method of let's say my first array dot length. So when we use dot length, it simply returns the length of your array. So if you run the code right now, it will simply give out 4 in the output. So here we get 4, which is actually the length of our array. Now what if we want to print out all the elements present inside our array? So for that we need to have something like loop, because we cannot keep using the print statement for each of the element. So for that purpose again we have the concept of loop that we checked out in our previous topic. So here let us use for int I equal to 0, which is our counter variable, then I should be smaller than the length of our array. So my first array dot length. And then the third argument to increment the counter I++, and then simply use the print statement of my first array index of let's say 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, right? So here I will use I, because with every iteration the value of I increases from 0 to 1, 2, 3, right, like this. And it never exceeds 3 because we have already written the condition here. It should always be smaller than 4. Let us now run the code. So here at the bottom we have the output of our array. 20, 19, 37 and 7. So in this way we can print out all the elements of our array by using the for loop in Java. Now also make a note here, why did I use the for loop in Java? Just because if you recall this slide, which is better and what to use in case of loops, I have mentioned here that if the number of iteration is fixed, then simply use the for loop. So here in case of array as well, we have the fixed length of array. In this case, the length of the array is 4. So that is why we are using the for loop, because the number of iteration is fixed, right? Now one more thing you need to notice here, that whenever we define an array, we cannot add more elements to our array. What I'm trying to say is, we have the maximum index of 3 in case of our first array. So in case you are going to add my first array index of, let's say 9 or let's say 4 equal to 89. So you are not allowed to do so, because this is the property of the array. Once you define the size, you cannot add more elements to your array. Let us continue our discussion in the next video.